Captain Forest here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over both these combatants to see who would win, more often not in a cross-verse situation. Nova from Marvel Comics 616, specifically Sam Alexander versus Invincible. Now, if you guys are new to my channel, please leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for further content. Also, huge shout out to HQ Squad, massive shouts to the team, they've been a huge help in my videos, so huge shout out to the team, and also shouts to Phoenix, he was a huge help with the Invincible section, so much appreciate to him. Now I'm going to go ahead, talk about some of Nova's feats, and I'm going to move over and then talk about Invincible and then chop it up near the end of the video. So starting off with attack potency, now there are some direct feats that was performed by Nova where he was able to destroy a giant asteroid which was heading towards Earth. Nova also was able to defeat an alien that possesses a cosmic staff that was powerful enough to be wielded by heralds of Galactus and act as a defense measure against celestial threats. Nova's dad told him that the Black Nova helmet is far more powerful and far faster than any other Nova Corps helmet in the galaxy. A non-suppressed Kid Nova was able to one-shot a clone of the original Nova who was wielding the very same helmet. Lastly, another feat comes from the time where Kid Nova and his father combined their powers to charge up a cosmic cube. Very impressive. Now that's going to round up attack potency. I'm going to go ahead and move on, talk about speed feats. Now Nova has a direct speed feat where he was able to fly to Jupiter from Earth, and this was calced around the 36 times the speed of light, aka FTL+. Another direct speed feat comes from Nova again when he was being chased by the Phoenix Force in space. Nova was able to somewhat outpace it at first. Nova's helmet also helps him react to any incoming planets, suns, and any objects in space, and this feat was also calced around the 10 billion times the speed of light. So right off the bat, Nova has some really good AP and some really good speed stuff. Very impressive. Now I'm going to go ahead and move over and talk about some of Sam's more unique features with the Nova Corps helmet, of course. Now, Nova can also tap into the Nova Force, which he derives power from the helmet, which gives him incredible powers. The helmet itself prevents others from wielding the Nova helmet, as it only activates in response to his DNA signature alone. Nova's helmet can also shock those who attempt to wear his helmet also. The helmet can hear Nova's thoughts and operate through his mental commands. Nova's helmet can track other Nova helmets. The helmet also has info analysis, as the helmet has scanning systems for identification, or it can also scan for targets. It can scan weapons and also weak points in opponents too. Nova's helmet helps his brain multitask, as his brain helps him process his reaction speed while traveling at hyper speed. Nova's helmet warns him of incoming danger such as a collision course. Nova also notes that the helmet grants him cosmic awareness. Nova's helmet also contains the world mind, which is a pocket dimension, and Nova also shares a connection with his helmet, as he can sense it nearby when he's not wearing it. The helmet grants Nova the ability to fly like a rocket at high speeds. He can also breathe in space and underwater, and with the Nova Force, Nova can also fire beams of blue energy waves from his hands. He can shoot out small or large widespread blasts of energy at his opponents, and he can also perform a giant area of effect. Nova can also ramp up the potency of his attacks, and he can fire it at max power. Nova can also imbue his attacks with energy. Nova can engulf and incinerate his opponents with his energy blasts. Nova's energy blasts were so potent to the point where he was able to tax Carnage's healing factor. He can also implode your body with blue energy, effectively vaporizing your insides, and Nova can also overload people and objects with energy, as Nova overloads and destroys a cosmic staff. Nova also fused two robot legs together with the energy blast too. Nova can also emit a solar flare to blind his opponents and escape from them. While flying, Nova can use the energy around him and create a force field to also protect his allies and also block enemy fire. Nova can also whip up an energy wall to attack, reflect, and send back projectiles back at the opponent, and Nova can also use telekinesis. He's shown to do this again, as he's able to pretty much seal you inside of a ball as well and just leave you there. And lastly, Nova, of course, he has some pretty interesting tactics. He will resort to dirty tactics. He will also use BFR tactics too, so he will fly you into the sun or just leave you in space. So that's going to pretty much wrap up Nova. I'm going to go ahead and move over and talk about Invincible to see what he brings to the table. In terms of attack potency for Invincible, he should easily range from the multi-continental ranges to the planetary ranges of attack potency, so heroes like Brit have fought characters like Thoth and Seth whose powers threaten to devastate planets. Now Tech Jacket struggles to fight Voltrumites, and Tech Jacket fought a villain named Null who's fought their version of Galactus who's a world eater threat, and Mark could easily clap and one-shot Voltrumite elites with ease. Finally, Omni-Man alongside his son Mark and another Voltrumite destroyed their entire planet, but the context is that the intense heat could have killed them, so they had to work together to hit the exact mark to avoid overloading from the heat rather than the force. Voltrumites themselves have consistently been stated to be planetary threats and destroy planets with ease if they felt like it. For additional context, the reasons why they die on impact was because of the heat of the planet's core. It's actually stated that Voltrumites can be overwhelmed by a high amount of temperature to the point where it bypasses their smart atoms and breaks them down, so it's not really an anti-feat. Plus, Mark would get stronger after this, so this is far from his max power. Mark can easily arm wrestle his father to a standstill until he gave up, so the elites wouldn't think his dad was considered weak, losing to his son. Conquest, also considered Invincible to be on Omni-Man's level, and draws blood from Omni-Man himself. Mark himself has directly shown to draw blood from Conquest, and in a crossover, Nolan, aka Omni-Man, fought against Supreme to a standstill who casually destroys planets with ease. This was also calced around the 27.884 zetatons of TNT, aka small planetary. So overall, no matter how you slice the AP, easily Invincible is ranging from the low ends of multi-continental, small planetary to planetary on the dot, so it's pretty good. So moving on to some speed feats, Invincible was able to fight an alien who was able to fly across the solar system. This was couched around the 20 times the speed of light, aka FTL in the earlier series. Now at first this could be argued to only be travel speed, however Alan himself has been stated in the guidebook to have proportional reflexes to his travel speed, so his reaction speed scales as well as his combat speed. You could also say it should be a natural thing in inverse wise. To react at these speeds would require similar reaction times, otherwise aerial combat would be near impossible. Now we can also get Invincible very high into the speed metas, folks. So Omni-Man himself was able to fly to another planet. Omni-Man flying a galactic distance is calced around the 3 billion times the speed of light. The reason why this feat is impressive is because an early Mark was able to avoid attacks from a furious Omni-Man, so this is pretty impressive. So easily he can keep up with his father when it comes to speed, and even in the AP ranges to some extent, which is pretty decent. Now let's move on, talk about some other things that Invincible brings to the table. Now for his greatest attribute, his indomitable willpower, which is why the show is called Invincible. Now we've seen Invincible endure a brutal beating from Conquest and managed to pull through after broken bones and several critical injuries. Mark himself has survived fighting on the surface of the sun. During that fight on the surface of the sun, it was pretty much leaving Invincible down to muscles and skin tissue under the sun's heat, and regardless of this, he was still able to fight, which is very impressive. His pain tolerance is very impressive, very ridiculous. Anyone who's on the surface of the sun would completely turn to a literal crisp. And lastly, Invincible himself has some BFR tactics, so he will fly you up into space. Anyone who cannot fly, he will throw them into space and leave them there if he cannot deal with the opponent in a physical confrontation. So that's going to round up Invincible. I'm going to go ahead and give my thoughts on who I think wins more often than not in a crossverse situation. Okay, so in terms of attack potency, I would have to give this to Nova. Nova just has higher AP in comparison to Invincible. Those feats that I mentioned, just lowballing, are easily like Star, solar system, multi-solar to galaxy, even, the Heralds of Galactus, just the weaker versions of them, like Violord and other lesser known heralds can easily blow up solar systems. Silver Surfer himself can destroy galaxies just casually. He can destroy the solar system himself. So easily, Nova as a low end, he can reach the solar system tiers, multi-solar, galaxy, multi-galaxy, etc, etc. He can easily reach creation level as well, because some of those feats that I mentioned were actually creation level as well. But I don't think I need to go that far. The finite scaling is enough, vastly above Invincible, multi-continental versus like a kid who can harm and damage characters, who can already destroy and life wipe planets, life wipe star systems, no difficulty. Now as for speed, if you use lower end speed feats, they're pretty comparable. However, if we use the massively faster than light scaling, Nova is just way too fast. 10 billion compared to 3 billion, that's a 7 billion gap. That's a huge gap, that's a huge number. So That's a huge blitz. I see Nova just getting in there and blitzing. Invincible, no difficulty. I gotta give the speed edge to Nova. Ultimately, I don't really need to talk about hexes in this round because it's not going to matter. The fight's going to end very quickly. Invincible just doesn't have the stats to keep up or deal with Nova. Even if they were relative in speed anyway, it's not going to amount to much because Invincible doesn't have the AP or the prowess to deal with Nova. He's just way too strong. So I gotta give Nova the victory in the first round. Just way too strong in unequal stats situation. Now what about an equal stats situation? I will still give it to Nova. I think hexes would actually play a huge role in this, since AP and speed is no longer an issue for Invincible since they're both equal. I just see Nova utilizing his nasty hexes like transmutation, his vaporization cannons, his telekinesis. He's going to use all sorts of nasty hexes and nasty abilities against Invincible. I gotta give this to Nova, moderate difficulty. Personally, I don't know why this is a matchup. It's just not fair in terms of like a fight, stats wise. I think it's pretty thematical, I guess. Both teenagers have like, father-like superheroes. Nova, Richard himself, and then you have Omni-Man himself. So I guess I kind of see that connection, but when it actually comes to a fight, Invincible kind of gets body slammed, unfortunately. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for further content. It's been real. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.